We're about to enter an entirely different reality. And we're at the tail end of a broken system that can't remember how to stay in self-soothing, calm respect for the human condition. We're just broken. We're hitting rock bottom right now.
And then that opens up to like birth of something new.
Yeah, dismantling the government, dismantling the definition of family, dismantling the idea of having children, dismantling the idea of sustained relationship, breaking down education, not believing the earth will survive.
What happens if we fully wake up?
The simple version is
Debra Silverman, what is the greatest lie human beings in the modern world tell themselves that causes the most significant suffering in our lives from your perspective?
that just makes me want to cry. And it's, your son's in Cancer at 15. I don't know if you know this, but today, Jupiter, once every 12 years, Jupiter's in Cancer. And once every 12 years, Jupiter's at 15 degrees Cancer. And that's today. So Jupiter is the planet of luck and joy. It's 100 times the size of Earth. It's the biggest planet in our galaxy, and it's sitting on you. So it's going to be funny and joyful, and your whole world should be expanding right now. Is it true or is it true?
Things are actually in an expanding moment, but I'm also transitioning away from a existential crisis. And I think I just went through a midlife crisis, just bought a motorcycle, but now I think we're on the other side.
This is the best. This is such a great bridge. So I'm an astrologer. Some of you may know, and I do look at people's charts before I have deep conversations. So you're in a very fertile myrtle cycle, and that lends itself to an existential crisis because even though luck, being balanced or blessed or feeling the abundance or watching everything, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to touch your heart of hearts, which is the question you asked. What is the lie that people live with that I wished I could change?
Yeah, it creates the most suffering.
The single topic is, which is in my second book, is there's gremlins that have you convinced that you're not enough, you're not okay, you're insecure, and you should feel like you're unlovable. It's like a built-in negative trapdoor that's built into everyone's operating system. And it's not true. You are not here by mistake. You are not needing to be insecure. You should be feeling very confident that your sperm won. Like you won the race, you won the lottery because you're here, embodied in this experience. But the mind has a slippery slope and it doesn't go to that up version. The lie takes over and it goes into, oh, I'm so scared and I'm so afraid and I don't really know if I'll ever really fill in the blank. So that's a lie. It's not true. There is a part in this truth's true. This is the elder talking. There's a part of you that is so excited about everything that goes wrong.
How does one differentiate the gremlins from the observer or from the truth or from the higher self?
I love that you call it the observer. It's a spiritual practice. And I think if you're a podcast listener and if you love Aaron, which is not a surprise, look how handsome he is, then you too are seeking. And the simple answer to the question is you can't ever get to where you think you're going. It's kind of sad because it's slippery. The whole thing is a very slippery slope. What you can do is start practicing. Going up into the balcony, sitting as the observer, taking a moment for meditation, giving yourself a pause. And from that place, you look over at your insecure, neurotic, crazy ego self, which everyone has built into their system. And you say, oh, you're having an existential crisis. I love you so much. I'm so glad you care that much, that you're going that deep. So if you're practicing, if that becomes a familiar voice, and it does show up as you age, because there's a kind of a tiredness everybody gets when they get older. It's like gravity has their way with you and your boobs start seeking and your face starts crunching and the penises start breaking. People lose all these things happen when you get older. You can't believe what happens. Like everything goes like this.
Penises start breaking?
Well, when you get older.
Is that science?
Testosterone runs out and estrogen runs out. I mean, that's when you sit in the balcony. You're like, oh, I'm not being driven by that impulse. So the elder has the magical formula to say, you want to know how to get rid of that lie that you're not okay? Stop putting your attention on what you should be doing, how much money you should make, how good looking you should, like all those ego voices get quiet. And I hate to say that you have to wait till you're older till it happens. You can start practicing, like right this moment. Take a breath.
Where do you believe is the original point of suffering for humanity?
It's simple. It's an identity problem. We think we're in this courtroom and we're going to get it wrong. Everybody believes that. We believe the myopa, the dream, this crazy Maya. We really believe it. It creates so much suffering. And then we get attached, said Buddha. All suffering comes from attachment. I wish that this was different. And so there's a fight that goes on. There's a war. And the simple way of disarming, I tried to do it before, I'll try it again, is take a deep breath. Let's do it together. And then just breathe out slowly, calm. I'm calm. I identify with the part of me that's calm, that's listening to a podcast, that really wants to be learning. I'm really helpful and hopeful and dreaming, and I'm really in the positive zone in this moment, in a prayer moment, to say, help me stay awake inside the stream to the truth of who I am. Let me put my ego in a seat and quiet so I can rest in my soul. Show me how to get to peace. I'm waiting right here, right now. Oh, there it is. Another deep breath. And then slowly breathe out peace. And once you become the director and the one that's in charge, you can open your eyes. Once you practice, I swear it takes 2 minutes from time to time to make your landing pad not the ego's voice trying to have you feel insecure, scared, neurotic. All those, I'm not going to keep going. Addicted, all those words. That's all the ego. Can I swear?
Yeah, swear away.
Fucking you up.
Let it out. Can you teach me about the Kali Yuga and the yugas and like where humanity is at in a broader timeline?
So the Kali Yuga, it's a 26,000 year cycle. For those of you that don't know, it's a Hindu version of astrology, and they do giant long view. And this last one was called the Age of Forgetting. It's everything I just said. So your ego puts you into amnesia, has you forget everything. It used to be we were clairvoyant. It used to be that our dreams spoke to us. It used to be that we could see the angels and we knew they were with us and our ancestors were visible. We have lost it, but there's a whole new age movement, have you noticed, that everybody's talking about. Woo-woo. Well, that's because we forgot. And the density of this existence has taken us away from the sweetness of peace. So the Kali Yuga is an age, and it's interesting that we are born, everyone listening to this, at the very end of it. And when it goes, it's a wave. Think of it as a wave. It's gone down. We're at the very bottom of it. And now it's going to come back up to what's called the golden age. So we're going to go into this. This is like, don't get too excited. It's like 100 or 200 years. We just hit rock. We're hitting rock bottom right now. Have you noticed?
What does rock bottom look like? Chaos, fear, confusion, things of the sort, I presume. And then that opens up to like birth of something new.
Yeah, dismantling the government, dismantling the definition of family, dismantling the idea of having children, dismantling the idea of sustained relationship, breaking down education, not believing the earth will survive. I don't want to keep talking like this, but that is the end of the Kali Yuga.
And think
about it. Is it happening or is it happening?
I don't know. I mean, I also have kind of a feeling that that humanity has a tendency of thinking the world's coming to an end in some perpetual way for the last like hundreds of years.
Excuse me, Aaron. Let me distinguish you. Really? We have never had 8.5 billion people here ever.
Yeah.
We have never had the consumption that put plastic in the ocean to the size of Texas in the middle. It's bigger now. This is not an ordinary storyline that's happened in the past. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you're wrong.
I love that.
Therefore, if there's 8.5 billion people who need to get fed, who need to poop, who need to wake up in the morning and drive a car, who need to have one of these things, our consumption is out of control. something will have to happen to balance that factor. Is that good? Is that bad? The Kali Yuga is not a judgment conversation. It's what I said. This is not a classroom that we're doing it wrong. Sorry, this is not a courtroom. This is not a courtroom we're doing it wrong. It's a classroom we're learning. Someone wanted to be human. Raise your hand. Oh, everyone's raising their hand. Everybody wanted to come down here for this movie, and they're eating popcorn, staring at the screen going, and then what happened? But why are we surprised it's miserable? Because we're at the end. I love that you asked it. We're at the end of the Kali Yuga, and you asked the best first question. What perpetuates the suffering is we don't remember volunteering.
What's the function of forgetting? Are we playing peekaboo with God? Is God just playing with itself? Is God like playing with its food? Like God's bored of being enlightened, so it comes back to forget just to play the game?
Are you tickling yourself over there?
I'm playing with a little massage crystal
And you're
thing.
rolling on a ball, Mr. Cancer. Your whole thing
And I
is
got to
wiggling.
massage the thing on my
You
back.
wiggle all the time.
It's a
It's
whole
what you do. That's the
situation.
answer why we're here. We wanted to wiggle. We wanted to have the experience of waking up inside the dream. We wanted to kiss. We wanted to be able to eat food and smell coffee and burn our finger at the fire. This was all the stuff we were like, pick me. How do you think 8.5 billion people got here? Because they were pushed on the bus? No. It was a volunteer position. Everyone's like, I want to try it out. There's a wonderful story by a man named Christian Sundberg. He works as a project manager at a nuclear plant, believe it or not. You can Google him. He's got great podcasts. And he tells the story straight as a pin. The guy's straight as a pin. And he had this memory when he turned 30 to Saturn return of before he got here. And he tells the story that he was on the other side and there was this amazing radiant being. And he walked up to him and he said, how did you get this radiance? And the guy said, well, I had a stint. I had a little ride on Earth. And he was like, I want to go to Earth. I want to be human. And he said, no, you don't. Because once you get here, it's an absolute mirage. It's an amnesia. So what is suffering if not forgetting, Kali Yuga? If not feeling insecure that something's wrong because it built into the operating system are those gremlins nibbling at you constantly in the middle of the night. Who pays that guy? Why is he so mean? He talks shit about you to you, let alone me.
Are the gremlins there as a survival strategy because we don't want to die? Is that why it's so much easier to hold on to fear and so much harder to hold on to happiness?
Such great questions. That's a yes. The operating system this is what Alice Bailey, who's an esoteric teacher from the 1920s, she said, Dwa Cool was the guy she channeled. It's an abnormal initiation process. You come down here to fall asleep. You wake up through crisis. Usually between 28 and 30, said the astrologer. And then again at 58 to 60. There's these like alarm clocks that go off. The exercise is God. I think you've brilliantly said it. The exercise was God, life, spirit, wanted to have an experience in physical form because it smells so good most of the time. Tastes really good most of the time. So they were like, and once we got down here, we go into amnesia. And the practice down here is, can you wake up inside the dream and find the whole thing? It's hard to say this, funny. I don't think it's so funny. It hurts me. Like you, Mr. Cancer, I also am very sensitive. At the same time, I'm so in love. I'm so in love with so many things so much of the time that I do have a voice in my psyche, as we all do, of what am I doing here? This is a mistake. It's existential misery. And there's another voice going, this is so fun looking at that beautiful face of yours.
What happens if we fully wake up? Is there such a thing as a static wake up, or is it we tend to oscillate in and out of falling back asleep? If we fully wake up, do we dissolve into light? Do we transition into another form? Do we graduate out of human incarnation?
There are enlightened beings. There are masterful beings like the Buddha, like Jesus, like, there's a host of non-duals that have reached the highest level. I have friends who can name all those enlightened beings, but I can't say their names. So I had to change one of the guys' names to Charles Marara. But there's a lot of awakened beings. I don't have a very good thing with words when it comes to foreign language. There are many enlightened beings who have come to this planet and woken up. And what you find in common, because I've studied them, great question, They have a wicked sense of humor. They laugh at the most random things. They tend to stop talking. As they get older, they zip it. They're like, too many words. They wear little clothes. They end up wearing less. They're obviously less materialistic. And they rarely are married. That's something interesting. You think of the Buddha, he had the green tower. There's always a woman somewhere. Jesus had Mary. Those high beings that reached a level of evolution that you're describing, enlightenment, sustained enlightenment, definitely leave the practical world behind as a measuring stick. They still participate. Of course, you got to poop, you got to eat, you got to drink. At the same time, they're aware they're not in a courtroom. They're now in a classroom, and they become the teacher, and they laugh for no reason. That's the highest road, is what I can perceive. I don't know how to get there. So there's a place in Hawaii that I go where there's a lot of pictures of the non-dual masters, and I go in there and meditate, and I hitchhike, and I just pretend I'm one of them. I don't know how they got there, Muktananda. I don't know what it took, but I like being in their frequency and going into the temple and holding their frequency and pretending I'm them.
I'd like to take a moment and share a word from our sponsor. This podcast is brought to you and us by these delicious, delectable longevity gummies referred to as MitoPure from Timeline. If you're experiencing things like brain fog, lower energy, trouble with recovery after working out, it could be supportive to you to support yourself at a cellular level. That is exactly what this compound referred to as urolithin A. This is the #1 doctor recommended urolithin A supplement on the market, and it promotes cellular energy, muscle strength, and longevity. What it does is it supports your mitochondria go through a process called mitophagy. So it's the breakdown of the old, gunky, crappy, crummy mitochondria to replenish with the new ones. Mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of your cells, and this stuff, the urolithin A, in these MitoPure gummies is helpful to replenish those mitochondria. If you want to try it for yourself, you go to timeline.com/align and you'll get 20% off. And also Timeline's clinically proven formula is now available at a new lower price. MitoPure now starts at $99 with the exact same science and formula. And my listeners get 20% off by going to timeline.com/align. I hope you guys enjoy.
From an astrological perspective, what is suffering? What is anxiety? What is depression? Is it all just a part of your path that's already written in your Akashic records, books, astrological charts? Is it something that you have some level of sovereignty or agency within?
There's this word in Sanskrit called karma, and it's revealed in the chart. I can tell if someone's going to have a hard time with relationship. I'm going to tell if they're going to have a hard time with their health. I can tell if they had a difficult childhood. Yes, there is a prescribed measuring tool inside an astrological chart that gives me the clue of karma based on the Akashic records that they came with. Absolutely true. A better question is yes. So the answer is yes, there is a profound design brought to you by astrology. Decoded will give me the formula to liberate you. The next question is, can I change the karma? Can I rearrange the dynamic that I would? Yes, the answer is yes.
How do you do that? You know?
Oh my God.
I'm going through a midlife crisis.
I know. I love when I met you. You did this thing. We were in New York City. We met for the first time. You sat down next to me, and you're a big guy. And I was doing my best because I am antisocial. So I was kind of hiding in the back of this party. And then here comes Eric. And then by the time the conversation finishes, I'm like 95 years old. He's obviously this young handsome man. He goes, "You're hot." I was like, okay, that was inappropriate, but I like him.
Yeah. Nice.
But that's the chemistry. Like certain people, that's very much your Sag. I mean, I'm looking at your chart. Yes, that is, you have Sag rising. So you say shit. And this is one of your gifts this life. And you also have Saturn and Sag, which I do too. I'm 30 years older than you. Okay, thanks for saying that. Well, the answer to how, that was just great. That's so you, Sag rising. How do I do that? You study astrology. I think you all guys should know this. I have a school. It only starts twice a year. It's only 6 weeks long. And you study your karma. And I give you the code. of what is in your chart that screams, this is your life for you. This is your life lesson. You're supposed to be funny and blunt and deep and never stop asking questions. Saturn's in Sagittarius. That's your life lesson. It's in my new book called I Don't Believe in Astrology. You just look up the chapter on Saturn and you take orders from home office. And yours is, you're going to have to be really blunt and blow things up all the time.
Yeah, I can make things a little awkward sometimes.
Because you say shit. Like, yeah, who says that? So unbelievable. And your moon's in Scorpio and you have Sun in the 8th house in Scorpio. So you're asking existential, listen, I really want to talk about you now. When you go into an existential crisis, all that is your soul is screaming at your ego, move, get out of the way, you stupid, dumb fuck. Just kidding. I had to swear because we're both Sag. But there is a requirement every time you hit Skid Row, every time a crisis happens, every time a relationship ends, every time the diagnosis comes in, you have to stop, do what we did earlier, take a breath, and then you have to ask this question over and over again. What am I supposed to be learning right now? What did the classroom have on my agenda? What was on my folder from the Akashic Records? Because clearly it's up. Now, if secretly you do, and you have a little part of you giggling, going, he's gotten so caught in this crisis. He's taking it so serious. Look, if you have a little part of you that can giggle, that means you're in the balcony. Your observer's on. You're looking over at Aaron going, he's really caught right now. And so he should be, because the human is so delicate. And you're a Cancer, for God's sake. You're mushy. You've got a funny contrast in your chart. One part is water, and a lot of it's fire. And water and fire don't get along. So the mushy part can get stepped over when you're being so bold and so risk taker and so blunt and changing everything. And your Cancer's like, so you have to dance with those flavors. That's the answer to your question about enlightenment, or about how to live with the pain body when it shows up, crisis. And remember, this was the Kali Yuga, the age of forgetting. Remember that you actually are learning and growing like a weed, even though your mind may not agree with me. Does your mind agree with me?
Yes, for the most part.
Are you growing like a weed right now? Because Jupiter's screaming grow.
I believe so. I mean, it's sometimes tough to be able to read the ingredients from the inside of the jar, but I believe I'm in a state of growth.
Is that from your head or from your heart?
I believe it's a combination of both. No, my heart says yes, and a common historic tendency of friction that I can have is a frustration that my ego is not in, my present self is not in the place that my ego says I will be and I can be and I am. And that that perpetual friction is something that can create frustration within me.
Every person listening to this podcast has the same dilemma. Their ego has an appetite for more, better, shoulds, all the insecurity, all the judgments, and their soul's waiting in the balcony, waiting as the observer to say, I love that you took this on. Thank you so much for the problem that you're having. I recognize how hard it is for you. I'm so sorry. Now, if those two could talk and your soul was soothing you, and that was your landing pad, was your soul, then every time your ego went into that thing you just did, it was so perfect. Like, I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess I'm doing okay, but it don't feel very good. And I'm really lonely, or I'm really angry, or that's the ego going blah, 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 blah. And can you come home? I always say, put your hand on your heart and just say, I'm so tender. I'm so vulnerable. I'm such a love. I chose this story. What was I thinking? I'm sorry. I'm patient. I'm so in love with you.
Yeah, it's very easy to like bring me to tears when I think about the tenderness of the little boy version of me, which is always present. And the ways that I have at times brilliantly, at times clumsily developed compensatory strategies to kind of build walls around that boy.
Well said. Everyone in this, everybody can just say it again. Watching how I've built walls around my tender little boy and how it interrupts my capacity to be calm and happy and content, because I think I should, said the ego, be different.
Yeah. And if I don't allow myself to be vulnerably exposed to the possibility of being destroyed, then I'll suffocate myself in those compensatory protective traps that I've been holding for far too long. And so there's like the fear of death prevents the ability to live.
And that was spoken like a true moon at 29 degrees Scorpio, with sun in the house of Scorpio. And here's the announcement for everyone on the podcast, I am now dating a Scorpio.
Mm.
And I'm
Hot
watching,
stuff.
it's not easy, hot sex. I'm watching my ego.
I said hot stuff. Hot stuff. Hot stuff.
Well, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry,
It was like hot sex.
that's what you said. Well, that's actually not true, because in the entrance of this relationship, I've decided to let my vulnerability lead, which means standing apart from the impulse of traditional relationship. We're kind of in a new form. It's so early and so fresh. And I'm noticing, Scorpio, of my how hard it is to let the vulnerability. I so feel your Cancer in the 8th house. How much of an art form, I'd like to change the language. It's an art form to be willing to expose vulnerability, because it feels like you're going to die. You're so
It's
right.
the most courageous thing you can possibly do is open your heart.
So when I was conceived, my mother did not want me. I was a third child, and it was a mistake. Why do I know this? And she wanted to have an abortion. So what a great way to tell your kid how to start my story. So this is one of my vulnerable wounds that lives in my Scorpio unconscious, that in relationship, if I'm not careful, it used to surface, but I didn't know what it was. But as the years have gone by, and I'm a therapist, of course, I have a master's in clinical psych because I'm so interested in all this. But still, my little vulnerable self doesn't go away. And it is embarrassing, and I can't believe I just said it out loud on a podcast, but I've been challenging myself to expose and be real as best as I can. It's unnatural.
When have you been the most real in your life?
When things break, when I'm broken, when my heart's broken, when someone has, when I end a relationship or when a friendship breaks, it's so painful and I get so real, and I'm very secretive like you are. We both have sun in the 8th house. I've changed my nature. Here's the answer to your question about the karma. I used to be really secretive and I never told things about myself. And I just talked in theory about astrology. And as the years have gone by, I've realized that my potency and my impact is being human. So I have to admit that I have a big practice. Some of you may know I'm online. I've been around forever as an astrologer, and you can be loved on the outer. And then that little teeny vulnerable self is still harboring in the back room. And that's to answer your question of when does that show up the most? In safe environments where I allow myself to cry, where my therapist knows how to come behind the screen, where my best friend knows how to touch my heart and make it safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something I experience. Sometimes I can feel and witness myself holding myself back from what would be vulnerability. Sometimes I feel like, oh, I could cry right now, or feel like something feels maybe shameful or something. Typically anything that's like soft, because the archetypal story of a guy is like, don't do that, which obviously that's actually very cowardly. Sometimes it's appropriate to keep it stoic and keep it tight and get through this. But if that's how you live, it acts as a heavy jacket that you have to carry. And it's a tremendous energetic expenditure to carry. And just behind that heavy jacket that you've been carrying subconsciously for longer than you probably would like to admit is freedom and is remembering and is access to an infinite well of energy that you're terrified to touch.
I so wish that in the world that we're creating, because of course we are entering a new era, said the astrologer, and AI is part of that, and the changing of the planets. Everyone that knows astrology knows that there's a big shift in 2026. I so wish and pray that instead of saying, hi, how are you? We just touch foreheads, lean back, and I go, I can tell you're in the middle of a crisis. That's so sweet. Can I give you a hug? We wouldn't be full of shit anymore. We would have this immediate resonance that dispelled the pretense of the ego. But I mean, I do it with my best friends. Suppose,
What astrological sign is the best at sex?
Okay, if you're still listening to this podcast, be prepared for Sagittarius to tickle you. I know that's ridiculous. Of course, everybody says Scorpio. It's not true. It is depending on chemistry. But it's so funny because I feel you even here in cyberspace. All I wanted to do that day was snuggle and cuddle with you. That's the nature. Some people come with secret sauce, and you just want to snuggle up because you can feel how they're feeling and you want to feel with them. And if you resonate, which I do, because I'm a mush push like you are, I want to snuggle up and just go, can we be quiet and cuddle? That would make for a really strong chemistry. But someone else who's got intellectual prowess and they get turned on by thought, and they have an entirely different sexuality that could be like, weird, kinky. And that's completely sexual. And so how are we going to distinguish that the yum yum factor who's snuggling in and going for the tantric hug versus the kinky one that's going to ride the energy into a really weird place? I don't know. That's a crazy question. I don't know which sign to answer, but of course, the universal answer would be Scorpio. And who am I dating? A Scorpio.
Can you break down in simplistic terms the differentiation between the sun and the moon and the rising for me to be able to understand that in a simplistic way?
Sure. I have to first go to the elements. Let's just do a quick version of the elements because you have double water in your chart. So there's 4 elements, like there's 4 wheels in a car. If one of them is down, the whole system goes off. So I want to describe them. One is water, stillness, cuddling, emotional, vulnerable, nonverbal, and internal. The second one is air, communicating, thinking, talking, writing, reading, social media, podcasts. They have to have their mind fed. The third category is earth, practical numbers, success, spreadsheets, financial, insurance, time, concrete. These people are really workaholics. And the last category is fire, and they're like the supercharged, funny ones that say, tell me the best sign and like they say random things that are ridiculously funny, and they tickle you, and they play sports, and they're athletic, and they work out all the time, and they're like the chi machine, as distinct from the water sign who's like, I don't want to go out of the house. So there's 4 different personality types, and in your chart, you have 2 that are water. One is Cancer, one is Scorpio. So your sensitivity, this is the sun is in Scorpio, the sun's in Cancer, the moon's in Scorpio. That means that your double water sensitivity to the intuition, to the feelings, to almost crying, and then your soul, the rising sign, fire, going, shut up with all that emotional shit. Because it's fire. And what does fire do? If there's too much water, it just goes, move over. So this is the distinction. The sun is the ego. It's the instinctual part of your character that's like a knee jerk. Like when you go to the doctor and he hits that part of your knee, you can't not be your sun sign. I'm sorry. The moon is in the dark at night. It's the internal world that occurs when no one's looking. It's your emotional temperament. It's the invisible world. And the third one is
the sun is the one that everyone says, right? So I'm a Cancer, July 7th.
It's your ego. Yes.
When a girl from a music festival says, "What's your sign?" She's asking sun sign.
Are you a Cancer? Right? That's right.
Okay, are you Cancer? Okay,
Most easily detected because every single day the sun moves 1 degree around the sky. I don't know if you knew that. So every single year on your birth date, which is right here, tell me your birth date.
July 7th, 1987.
Every single year on July 7th, the sun's going to be in Cancer. So that's how we know. That's the cheap version of astrology is we can predict your ego structure, your knee-jerk impulsive behavior by the birth date. Now, the moon, which is the fastest moving planet, that describes your inner world, and you have to determine it by your time of birth. And the third category is the soul, better known as the ascendant or the rising sign. That is clearly what you're supposed to be aiming for, your higher self. And this is all in my book, I Don't Believe in Astrology. It's the funniest title. Because beginners who don't know anything, they say it's a cheap, that's why it's getting me more and more upset as the years go by, because there's a lot of astrology out there that's dippy. Now, I like dippy to a certain point. Then I'm like, give me the meaning. Take me to the meaning because I've got so much Scorpio. So at the superficial level, the sun is your ego, the moon is your emotional temperament on the inside at night, and the rising sign is the soul based on the moment of your birth. And that is really what you should aim for, said Alice Bailey, the esoteric teacher. Go straight to your soul so you can get into the balcony, so you can turn off your insecurity because the soul holds the gift of your wisdom. If you take the high road.
And a person that tends to self-sabotage, and is there such a thing? Oftentimes when you talk to a psychic or an astrologer, they're pretty optimistic and they have a tendency of seeing things through, kind of a, what's the term when you see things through rose-tinted glasses. That's something that I, experience quite often with things like that. Is there such a thing as a sign that's just like, ooh, you're kind of screwed on this go around?
The Plutonian, it's not just Scorpio, the Plutonian influence of the human psyche reveals itself as a sabotager. And it will go towards success, be happy, and then it will stir the pot just for drama. It just loves stimulation. And it is a juice machine. It wants the juice. It can't sustain calm. So yes, there is indicators by different personality types who's going to run towards crisis and drama and joy and loud, and who's going to stay home and say, can we just have another cup of tea? I'm putting on my slippers. Don't invite them over.
For the most skeptical, scientific, reductionist, materialist person you could ever come across, how would you provide them an explanation for astrology?
I hand them my book. I Don't Believe in Astrology. I mean, the simple version is the moon is in the Farmer's Almanac, they know how the tides will move based on the movement of the moon. That's because this planet is water. It should be called water. It's called Earth, but it's blue. And the moon is directly influencing the tides and the waves. The same is true of you. You are 75% water. The moon influences your moods. I can tell you every day, I love looking at the sky every day, what's the flavor, what's the mood of the zeitgeist. So if I wanted to prove to someone, I would say, look, you can't see love and you believe in it. There's no scientific proof about love. And you can't see the stars influencing us. But I'm telling you, I can look at your chart and scare you. It was supposed to be funny.
In relation to which sign is the best at sex, how could we use astrology to become better lovers in our lives?
No, he's not asking about sex again.
Not sex necessarily, to improve intimacy, to improve relationship, to improve connection.
Okay, that's
how can we leverage astrology to become better?
Okay,
that's a lover.
Short answer. One, and it's tattooed on my arm, and I would show you if my shirt would let me. The words listen and silent have the same letters. So in order to listen, you have to be silent. To be a good lover, and it's not just sex.
Uh-huh.
It's everything in this entire life, with your child, with your infant, with the dog. If you can listen without thoughts in your head, silence, and you can track that person's desire body, what they like, is it kink or is it sensual? What is the flavor of this person's pleasure point? How do I give them what they want? Can I listen to their desires without them telling me? That's the lover. The really high level lover doesn't just go in for their orgasm, doesn't just go in for their pleasure. They go in to listen how to dance with the other in a slow pace until the energy builds. We're talking about sex again, until the energy builds, and then it really can get into that wild space. However, the requirement for a really best friend, let's get off sex, and really have intimacy is that you listen to them without your own thoughts interrupting. So you actually slow down enough to say, I want to understand Aaron. Like, where does he live? What contributed to this existential crisis? How do I touch him on his terms, in his language, so that I don't bring Debra, but I actually go intimate to you? So what is a good lover if not the ability to listen without an agenda?
What blocks people from being able to listen deeply?
That noise machine, that stupid guy that we don't know who pays him. Why does he talk all the time? There's so much noise. People don't know how to sit in silence and listen to the other without saying, oh, that happened to me too. No, just sit back for a minute and listen to them. Don't throw your ego in the middle of the room. Until you can rest in the position of the balcony as an actual familiar resting spot. It's taken me, I feel like I'm giving you the cheat sheet because it took me years. I am reactive. I have you can't tell this, but I have a strong personality. So when people start arguing with me, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm Jewish and I grew up and I have moon in Aries and I grew up in a loud family. It took me years to realize that's not helping. Any kind of intimacy is not happening because Debra, I interrupt people. I think I've done it to you.
Well, for a person whose mind is chronically racing and they feel overwhelmed and out of control, how can they begin to gain relationship with themselves on a deeper level?
They need drugs. Just kidding.
I
just make fun.
Always the worst.
Well, sacred medicine is a really powerful tool to give us the experience of deep listening. Every time you're on any of those sacred medicines, your ego takes a seat and the grandmother or the soul or the messengers show up. So that is a good practice. Ask the question again. How can we?
For a person that chronically feels overwhelmed, anxious, they can't turn the chatter off. They're the person that says, I can't meditate. I can't do breath work. I'm just too busy. How do they begin to wrangle the wild bull that exists within inside themselves to be able to find stillness?
I mean, I can look at a chart. You have the advantage being double water as a Cancer Scorpio to really valuing the inner world. It calls your name all the time. So it's a little easier because you're interested. The answer is some people come down here and they're not supposed to meditate and do the sound or healing. And it just doesn't work for them. They came down to do earth and they're busy and they're making money and they're providing for their kids and they're not listening to this podcast. Some people came down here because they are very young souls and they're just having their first ride and they're supposed to get it wrong to get it right. And they're going to go for security and marry somebody in high school and stay with them for the rest because they're scared. And all the range of the evolution of these souls is theirs, none of our business. When you meet a soulmate, this is what I feel with you is the soul resonance. And you feel like, I love that person. They remind me of me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel so comfortable with that person. And that becomes the door for a friendship. That's one of the skills that provides the gift of deep listening, of coming home to yourself, of being held, of knowing how to be safe with your vulnerability. I have a best friend, literally, who I talk to every day. It's been over 40 years. I don't know what I would do if I didn't talk to her every day because she soothes my nervous system and makes me feel safe.
What do you feel you still hold within yourself that acts as a block from allowing yourself to feel safe within yourself, to feel at home within yourself, to fully open your heart to love? Not to say that you do or do not, but I imagine if you're still in this incarnation, there's still some walls within.
Yeah, I stopped dating years ago because I thought, not in a negative way, but I was done. That part of me had to be put away because I realized being I don't know, hurting someone, being bored, not having entertainment, the level that I need to live with. I had to leave behind a part of my psyche. And then as life would have it, under this unbelievable Aries sky of April of 2026, where there's 6 planets of Aries in a week, but it's been going on now for months as all the planets are shifting, I realized I was closing down parts of myself and life. So the answer is, I can be a little bit self-sufficient, overly so, maybe a little bit detached, even arrogant, because I've found so much joy in my own. Sounds terrible, but this only happened I was thinking about it yesterday on my bike ride. I was like, what was the turning point where being alone? I think COVID really, really helped me. I didn't understand that loneliness was the pathway to get to the town called insight. I didn't know. I thought loneliness was really icky and to leave it as fast as I could. But I couldn't during COVID. My kids, I had no one for Christmas. I had no one for Thanksgiving. I was alone on an island. It was a long movie. And in the beginning, it was horrible. It was horrible. And then eventually I was like, wait a minute. And I found this other place called Insight Village. And I began to rest there. And everything changed. So how many years ago is that? 2019. Yep, about 5 years ago. So since then, this is why I'm probably not the best person to ask, because the independence that I've established, it doesn't mean, like, listen, if I didn't talk to my best friend every day, I think I'd be a wreck. Just tell the truth. I'm codependent. Having some one person know me so well and have my back like a tree, like a mountain, she's so stable. Her husband's like, it's Debra, has really freed me up. So one of my suggestions to people is, if you don't have a best friend or a counselor or a dead grandma you can talk to, or your dog, find someone that really gives you comfort, because loneliness is a real thing on this planet. And being intimate and feeling seen and heard. And this is not about sex, Erin, but just that deep intimacy is the medicine. And I swear, I feel like I should send checks to her and her husband, because they take such good care of me.
Has loneliness been a common theme in your life?
If I'm alone too long, I don't know. It was really lonely, really showed up during COVID, but I would say I am a being who uses busyness, better known as, I have a business with 50 women. Now we've just hired 3 men for the first time. I've noticed that one of the things that remedies I was depressed for most of my life. I lived with low-grade depression my whole life. I just find this place very painful, that people are sad, they're not eating, they don't have food, they don't have money, there's war-torn. I can't talk about it because it just makes me feel sick. So that's where the depression, I realized it wasn't Debra Silverman's depression. It was a human condition. Hurts me. It must hurt you too, because you're double water. Does it hurt you?
The perspective that I hold presently is that all things are rooted in love. That's the substrate to all things. And anything that is outside of love is a dismembering out of fear. And so when I see any being, it's impossible for me to see a drug addict covered in rashes or, whatever, and not see myself. It's like I'm like looking directly into myself. There's no separation at all. And I only see just levels of fracture and pain and suffering rooted in fear. And sometimes it's ancestral, and sometimes it happened in this lifetime. But so to me, I see all beings through that lens of like, I see them as like a child. And so I think I lean more towards that. I'm just like, oh. And so it's not so, I don't lean so much into the suffering hurts me so much. I lean more into the, I see and feel the love, and I have compassion for the suffering that's a product of the fear that's
So
stored in
this
your
that
history.
was a very brilliant error description. I'm wondering in your tummy, because you're so sensitive. What lives in your, like, I understand that was all very true. I just noticed, and this could just be me, that this place hurts me. I mean, I could cry. It, I don't know. I don't understand it. So, yes, everything you said is true. It's all love, and this enlightened ones are all having a party, and they smile in the middle of the pain, and they have this enlightenment game that I can't seem to stick into my heart of hearts. I work at it.
Well, I don't think I'm enlightened. That's for sure. I have too much addictions and neuroses to be enlightened. I have too much bondage. But the lens that I see the world through
Yes.
is one of compassion, love, and grace. And sometimes I have fear that comes up within myself, and then reactive tendencies can emerge, and I can kind of go into a little bit of a contractive scramble.
So I distinguish that from water to air, that your air has, you know, you have no air in your chart, as in zero. Did you know that?
No, I don't know that.
Why is that funny?
Your just your mannerisms and personality, I just find sweet and endearing.
What that means, and this is my first book called The Missing Element, and it doesn't have any astrology in it. It just has a personality test. It means that what you just did was air, like all of that about Putin and Trump and compassion. And then back at the ranch, that's here in your head, back at the ranch in your tummy, addiction is a symptom of the emotional body feeling so distraught that it needs comfort. And
Yeah,
it uses,
there's contractions and fears and baggage that I hold on to within myself that I'm well aware will get processed and integrated in due time. And the sooner I do it, the sooner I open to greater freedom. But there's a part of me that's afraid to touch it.
you know what I want to say? And tell
What?
me if the mountain lion comes back. What
All
I
right.
want to say is, don't judge yourself for addictions. All of you in this room, you're addicted to breathing. You can't stop. You're addicted to love. There's nothing you can do about that. It's a chemistry game. There's a lot of addictions. You have to sleep. So the addiction that you would use, I can imagine, I'd love to know what your addiction is comfort. Any water sign, Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces, like to get high, like to be in soft focus, like to have a little bit to drink, like to have microdosing, anything that soothes. This is part of what I live with, is a constant, I hate saying this out loud, I have a constant low-grade sadness that I once called depression, and then I realized I don't know why we're not all together singing Kumbaya. It's what I dream about. It's what I think the future will be, you guys. I want you to know this. I really want you to hear this from someone that's just about to turn 70, that there is this new system that's coming soon to our neighborhood that is the next Kali Yuga. As we do this curve, when we go down, we come back up into a golden era, and this planet is going to go through something so remarkable and unrecognizable, just like the similarities, just like what happened during the 1780s when they first found Uranus. Electricity came into being. Now think about this. We had no idea that electricity would change so that you and I could speak together in cyberspace, and we'd have these little devices, and there'd be a heater on, there's a light on, and there's cars. I mean, this is nuts what electricity did. It changed everything. That's true of AI. And in 1780, Uranus, I love saying that, was found by a telescope, first time they ever saw it. And that came with electricity. Well, guess what? Uranus is in Gemini again, like it was in 1780, right when we found AI. On November 19th in 2024, Pluto entered Aquarius, which rules Uranus. It just sounds funny. It's too much jargon. All that is to say, we're about to enter an entirely different reality. And we're at the tail end of a broken system that can't remember how to stay in self-soothing, calm respect for the human condition. We're just broken. We're stupid. Is that okay to say?
Yeah. It seems like a lot of the suffering would be an unacceptance to to what is and an attachment to what you think should be.
100%. The mind is hooked up to those gremlins. This is Astrology 101. It's called Mercury. And your Mercury's in Cancer. So we look at Mercury. It's the indicator about how the thought process works. And yours is in water again. So your mind, it's underneath water. And it feels things. And that makes you want to be addicted because you can't get those stupid feelings to go away. So there's a million things. I'd love to hear about. You can't tell us. There's a million things you're going to use
I can
to
tell
distract
you.
the pain.
I'm not.
Okay.
I don't have any addictions that are. I'm addicted to validation from the world. I'm addicted to validation from the podcast. Addicted to validation from women. Addicted to validation. Women would be a big one. It's not so much like sex I'm addicted to. It's more like love. And so the feeling of like to me being like a hug and a snuggle is much more valuable to me than sex. Sex is fine if it arises, but it's like the hug and the snuggle is actually the thing that would be more the thing that's like a craving. Sometimes I've oscillated in and out of addiction to nicotine. And so nicotine to me, now I'm in the out of it, which is great. But to me, it's almost like a desire to feel. I think I want to feel big, and if I have a moment throughout the day where I'm kind of like, oh, I don't really feel enough, or it's not enough, a nicotine pouch in my lip or something of the sort is a convenient way to immediately induce feeling, and then there's the fall off where I feel worse, and then I do it again.
Welcome to addiction.
Yeah.
I was very honest. Yes. I mean, people have addictions to podcasts. People have addictions to stimulation. People have addictions to work. That is normal. That's the human condition. We have to breathe. We have to poop. We have to sleep. This is an addictive reality. I don't know why there's so much judgment. Now, when it starts to interrupt and it increases your self-judgment, that's the problem. Because I don't think you're addicted. You're just a lover who is hungry to feel connection in order to take away that feeling of the gremlins nibbling on you. You're like, how do I get these? I'll have a cigarette. I'll do that pouch. Like, how do I get get this feeling to go away?
What's the path to be able to find resolve within those little like gnawing anxieties and gnawing gremlins and such that we hold within ourselves?
Ding dong. There's one word, and that is discipline. And what is discipline? But the disciple that knows how to serve Jesus in that story, or enlightenment is another word for Jesus, with everything they have. Then we have discipline. Like I, as a 70 almost year old, I exercise every day, not because I want to, because I know that the vehicle that I have, the temple I live in, for me to be of service to you in this audience, I need to be clean and keep my system actively clean. And it keeps me really vital. So that's discipline, not because I want to. So what it is that makes the word is moderation for you and I both with Saturn in Sag. Can I moderately use the substances that soothe me? Can I moderately identify that I need cuddles and snuggles to make my body happy? Yes. As soon as it becomes excessive and discipline leaves the room and you've got gremlins needy and they're telling you what to do and you're out of the free will zone, ding, 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 that's when the bell should have gone off.
Yeah, a question that I ask quite a bit that I've already kind of asked you is, and I'm going to ask you again, since we're kind of at like another side of things with this, is what is the point of the initial suffering? Like, I think it goes back into like Adam and Eve in the Bible. There's like ate the apple, and I think that's a metaphor for certain something. Like, what is, from your perception or an astrological perception, the original source point of suffering in humanity?
If you can imagine, which is what happens when you go to sleep, it happens when you make love, it happens when you're with your best friend. There's this experience with the dog. There's this experience of oneness where you're like, oh, I love this experience. I'm so at one. And then separation. This is the Kabbalistic theory. Everything shattered. And then the exercises to reconvene, to heal, to cocoon, to bring it back together again. So for some reason, you and I were bored and we decided to come down here and we got amnesia. We fell asleep in the middle of the movie. Then we met at this party and you were so cute. And the next thing you knew, Destiny said, could you two do a podcast? And that's how come everyone's listening. I don't know. It's a very magical process that stands outside the mind. What I do know for sure is when I'm in the flow, when I am available to notice my soul, when I stop the bus and go into my alone time and sit in the balcony, more and more and more as the years go by, I remember, oh my goodness, I remember why I came here. I wanted to know what it was like to be connected to spirit while being in a body. And I think that was the exercise. I don't know for sure, but when I get done, I'll send you an email.
Yeah, I think the judgment is the thing that perpetuates the suffering as well.
That's the gremlins who nibble on you. They think it's a courtroom. They think you should be thinner. They think you should be happier. They think you should have more money. They think you should have more clicks on your podcast. And don't think I'm outside the game because, it's not a bad feeling to be successful. And then life comes in and steals it or grabs it or smashes it or Saturn return comes or Pluto comes and hits you or you're in a major transit where Jupiter, there are so many indicators where life goes, and now, how are you doing?
What does my astrological chart tell me about my greatest blind spot or weaknesses or subjective weaknesses in my own life? Are there any big blind spots that I would maybe not be privy to?
The single one that I would point at in the middle of everybody listening to you without disclosing too much is you make up stories in relationship. You have an illusionary fantasy that interrupts the possibility for you to be with who you're with and not make up another story. And then you get crashed into reality and then you come back and you start again. It's one of the handicaps of this chart is you just fall in love with a dream rather than reality. How'd I do?
That can happen. Are there any other particular, maybe vulnerable or maybe embarrassing things about my chart that might be interesting to discuss? What's the soft white underbelly in my astrological chart that could be exposed
Aaron,
to?
you're such a push. If I could, I could be an angel and come and sit next to you and soothe your vulnerability and give you permission to feel strong and courageous to be vulnerable, which I think you're doing. That would be the angelic influence I'd love to bless you with.
I really enjoy these conversations, Miss Silverman. I hope to get to do more of these. I appreciate you sharing. I appreciate the dynamic. Is our astrological chart, are we supposed to have fun, silly conversations? Is that what it says?
That's what I said. 100%. That's what I said when we started. When you sat down that first time, it's just, you guys all know this. You meet certain people and you're like, I love that. Like the minute you meet them, it goes off. And then other people, you're like, and you and I have that. My Mars is sitting right on your sun. Your Mars, it just sounds funny, is sitting right on my Uranus. It just sounds terrible. And your Saturn and my the same. We were born under the same teaching, which is how can we be blunt and honest and funny at the very same time?
I love that. Well, thank you so much for making time. Again, we'll include the links for the school that arises twice a year.
And my soft launch is happening in the fall. If you guys want to come see me, I'm going to be in different cities. I don't even know where, but I think it's New York. And my new book, I Don't Believe in Astrology, is having a soft cover launch. So I'll let you guys know about that.
Amazing. All right. I appreciate you. Thank you all for tuning in. That is it. That is all. I'll see you next week.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed that episode, you might also enjoy this episode over here, as well as this one over here. Thank you for subscribing. Appreciate you. I'll see you in the next video.